Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our publishing and coaching services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Dushyant Sukhija, a best-selling author of the business leadership book, The Cisco Way. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Paul. Really appreciate being on the show today.
Excellent. Are you ready to get started?
You bet.
All right. Question number 1. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Paul, if there's one piece of advice I'd give to new authors is don't listen to writing advice. There's so much out there. It is so confusing. But in my opinion, the very fact that somebody is thinking of authoring a book already tells me that they have a piece of knowledge, experience, or a creative fiction piece that is unique and theirs. They need to find the best way to draw your reader in from the beginning and make sure you leave them with 3 to 5, no more, takeaways that will make your book a standout and memorable for them.
Absolutely. Everyone has a story to share.
Absolutely right.
Well, what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
In my experience, the hardest part about getting published was really getting the attention for the story and finding the right platform. I think it's very important to know your audience and know who you are targeting, and then research the best, most suitable, most relevant, and most specialized platform and publishing house to target your audience. The same applies for the sales channels, making sure you're not just covering every single sales channel, but targeting the ones that will help you get to the right target audiences that you had in the beginning in your mind as you wrote the book.
Well, and talking about targeting audiences and everything, that transitions perfectly into our next question, and that is, please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that worked well.
Wow, that's a great question. This is one that I recall as being probably one of the most prominent things I learned in the process of writing the book. And I think the summary message for me to other authors is get the word out there. Use social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook to hammer out your key messages about your book. Start early, not when the book's already been written, but before the book is ready to be published. Stir up the interest in a mysterious way without giving away the plot. And then, once the book is launched and out, send out weekly, if not bi-weekly, messages on all of these platforms with select excerpts from your book to keep the excitement level mounting and on.
You bring up a great point with that, with building the anticipation as you're going through your own process with that, and it builds out for months where you're taking them through the journey and then also building that anticipation. Now, in regards to repurposing the content, are you talking about sharing chapters of the book, or are you talking about sharing like certain quotes? What is the strategy with that?
So I think it's either chapters or certain quotes, or it could be just simply excerpts that bring about the essence of the book and get people excited about wanting to read the rest of it. That, I think, is a very key piece in this, as you call it, building up the anticipation. And then once the book's out, giving people a flavor on an ongoing basis so that those that haven't actually made the effort to go and order the book feel compelled to do it once they start reading your messaging.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about your favorite book. So what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
So before I even go on to answer that question, I think I will add another point to your previous question, which is a good lead-in also to your new question on the favorite book.
Sure.
For me, my single message back to new authors is you're the best marketeer for your book. Nobody else can do it better than you. And find every way that you can personally get your word out there. This resonates with a key set of messages that came out of my favorite book. Now, to answer your current question, Stephen King's memoir on writing. He talks about 22 things that new authors or authors need to do to basically excel in getting their best book out. There are at least 3 things out of these 22, instead of just one, that I learned from this book that have played out well for me as I wrote my book. The first is don't waste time reading television, looking at television. Instead, research, read, and write. At least 1,000 words a day. Get it over within a season, because if you last more than a season writing it, you will lose the beginning of the story and the thread throughout it. Second, prepare for more failure and criticism. Third, don't waste time preparing to please people. Write primarily for yourself. This is your book, your story, and that's how it needs to come across to readers. Those are, I think, the key points that I got out of Stephen King's book. And I must advise every single aspiring author to get a copy of that on writing.
Yeah, you bring up some great points with that, and especially just get into that habit of writing, whether it's an hour or 2 hours a day, but get it done, because you're right. If you're going to keep writing for months and months on end, you are going to lose part of the story. Try to get that book done within a month to 6 weeks at the very most, especially if you're in that daily writing habit.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about your favorite quote. So what is your favorite quote and why?
Wonderful question. The noblest search is the search for excellence. That's a quote from Lyndon Johnson. I'll repeat it. The noblest search is the search for excellence. This is something that has stood me throughout my career, has helped me right from the beginning in motivating myself, my people, my teams, my organizations to the next level of excellence. When I started writing this book, for example, there were so many different aspects about writing a book and getting it published that were almost like doing something that was completely different from what I'd ever done before. It was this single quote, "The noblest search is the search for excellence," which brought me the single-minded focus, whether it was on creating the structure for the book, whether it was on finding the right publishing platform for it, whether it was getting the right messaging and marketing story out. That search for excellence is what helped me bring out my best in putting this book out. And that's why this has been not only a quote that has helped me throughout my career, but also with my book, and consistently one that I follow in everything that I aspire to do.
Yeah, that is an excellent quote. Well, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
Paul, once again, great opportunity to be on your show. The best way to find me online is my personal website, which is www.DushyantSukhija.com. I'll spell it, D like David, USHYANTSUKHIJA.com. Or just my book, theciskoway.com. Thanks again, Paul, for having me on the show.
Well, Dushyant, again, thank you for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.